via the path of non-contradiction. Join us each week on Feet to the Fire, a show with the goals of examining a subject matter on its own merits and test how it stands up to the many possibilities found in reality. All without pre-drawn conclusions found in personal bias. No left or right wings here. No pounding the pulpit of ego-driven my way or the highway attitudes. But there are no free passes given either. Answers to questions are important, but equally important is the reasons and methods used to find the answer. The lack of contradiction is the final judge here on Feet to the Fire. Feet. Sunday evenings. To live. How do you listen? Fire. Check out feettothefireradio.com. Now broadcasting live with archives kept in HD video on our YouTube channel and with high-quality audio only at Spreaker.com. The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium. All right, bang, pow, boom. We are live at Feet to the Fire. I'm your host, James Arthur Yanchik, Black Knight of Talk Radio. We are live tonight. I wrote a message that I put out on Facebook and Minds. Plus, the link appears below in the description of this broadcast. I'll have it posted later on in feettothefireradio.com. But in the gist of it, actually, maybe I can go. Should have had it up there so I could refer to it. That would have been nice. But well, I'll tell you what. I'll look on the other one, which is easier. I'll just refer to it. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing the focus of the show, the broadcast. I don't like calling it a show because I think I'm going to be doing tap dancing and whatnot. Let me change this. Hold on. Yeah, that's a little better. I'm going to be focusing more on a pre-recorded, more focused topics or subjects, because doing the long shows and here we go. Doing the long shows with the multiple topics and multiple things is just not the way it's happening anymore. I've no longer affiliated with TogiNet, which was a radio station that was filling me broadcasting. So I'm not. I have the freedom to do what I want, really. I was in their system, and they've changed. So now I could do it as whatever. I know people show up in the chat room, and I'm sure people will be showing up momentarily if they're not there already during the live show, and I appreciate that, and that's cool. And I will be doing these live shows as needed. News and stuff comes up, I may be able to do this, but I want to try and focus Sundays on putting together these pre-recorded ones. I mean, it won't be nothing earth-shattering video. It'll be to the point, high enough quality to appreciate it, listen and watch, read, and not having special effects or whatnot. But the point being is I can focus on these topics, make them 10 minutes, 15, 10 minutes, 5 minutes on a topic, what information, leave links underneath, and people can then go from there. And then I could do several. I mean, it doesn't mean I do one. I could do several of them when I have it, and I can then put them out. I'll put them out in audio and video on Spreaker for those listening Spreaker. And when I do a live show, of course, like as this is, I'll put out on the YouTube that I'll be doing the show. And I'm having trouble with my newsletter stuff in my website. So hang tight on that. You can send me an email at james@feettothefireradio.com, and I could send back to you. You can check out the website, feettothefireradio.com. And if you're on Facebook or Minds, you can look there, Facebook, james.arthur.jancic.com, or Feet to the Fire Radio. And I got a group page there. And on Minds, it's all on the bottom here. You can see, what am I saying? I'm just right down there. You can see it. Of course, for people listening, I should do it. Minds.com. The username is James Arthur Jancic. James Arthur Jancic. I should say that Jancic. No spaces. James Arthur Jancic. And that will get information. And Gab is F2F is the Gab ID, gab.ai, which is the replacement or competitor with Twitter. And the Minds would be the competitor to Facebook. And it pretty much has all the ways to find me. If you just go to, for now, I have no problems with YouTube because I had 1 million followers, and I was yelling and screaming about stuff. Perhaps I'd get kicked off too, but I don't have. I'm not up in that category, so I'm under the wire, so I could talk about things nice and use the format. Backup is on BitChute.com, so that stuff's automatically posted there. All this stuff's underneath. If you're watching and if you're listening, you can go to feettothefireradio.com. On the side, you'll be able to scroll down and look for how to follow and contact and all that. So what I'm going to be doing is I already have a playlist on the website that is called Resonating with Reality. I actually had a website. I just let that all go. I didn't have time to set it up, the website, and run it and everything. But I have a playlist. And what Resonating with Reality is going to be is, and will continue to be, is... well, actually, let me step back a minute. You know, one of the people I follow is Socrates, one of my mentors, Socrates and Jesus. You can see on the website, Feet to Fire webpage, you can see the two individuals there. Those are the two people I follow, and my favorites or what have you. As far as philosophy, finding truth and all that. Of course, Jesus goes a little farther than that, but anyway, so one of the problems I found with studying Socrates is that he was very good at tearing down other people's models, looking for flaws, but he never offered a replacement because he himself couldn't really, he didn't feel comfortable enough in his knowledge to come up with the answer. He just knew that one being presented, here's the problems with it, which eventually got him killed. So one of the flaws, I think, is that he should have put forth ideas as fluid possibilities with the benefit of his mind until more information would come up. And so that's what Resonate with Reality is. It is going to be a point where I put together what I think reality is, and I'll have backup for it. I just don't. It's not channeled by some angel or alien. It's not following any one school of discipline or any kind of spiritual teachings from any one segment. It is gleaning. I look at it like having a little basket going Easter egg hunting and putting out the eggs in there and then arranging them and finding out information. So that's already there, and you can go to my YouTube page and find that playlist. I don't think it's on, the playlist is on BitChute, but you could find the relative videos on there. And I'm going to be starting a playlist that's called Correcting Christianity. Now, I'm not saying that I'm, been sent by God to tell everybody how to think. But what I've done over the time, I have a long history of looking into Bible and God, and I was in various churches, went into the Greek and Hebrew as a non-scholar, following scholars' works to understand what the words were, the history and all that. And I've come up with, using my method of non-contradiction, like I would kind of jiggle the stuff around until I would get rid of contradictions using Jesus' teachings as the basis, using the fact that those words were said for a reason, finding the historical context of the words, finding the Greek use of the words outside of the New Testament, inside of the New Testament, ancient Greek, New Testament Greek, and looking to see why would these words be chosen, and that being the center vortex of how I look at the spirituality, and everyone else is submitted to it. I mean, even the disciples, a lot of the churches, for example, correcting Christianity, a lot of the churches have everything equal in the Bible. Every word is God's word equal, and I don't go along with that, and I explain why before you stole me as a heretic. I much love God, and Jesus is my Savior in all ways of that word, more so than meant by most churches because of the depth of what his teachings and what he accomplished, which will be part of this correcting Christianity. It's just, I guess I picked that because it's alliteration, correcting Christianity. I don't know. I don't mean to be bold or whatever. The problem is that what we have done is in our world is we've gotten to the point where no one can talk anymore. All it is people shouting out absolutes. And in fact, I have a nickname for religion is a collection of arbitrary absolutes. It's this way because, and what I gotta say, when I was born, my first words were not mama or dada, it was why. That's the joke. But that's how I always asked my mother why. I drove her nuts. They would tell me something, and I'd be like, why? Well, how come? And they had to explain this. And that's why I had to learn to read real fast because I couldn't stand not knowing what the stuff was. And, I'm channeling that information, and I've squandered it a lot over the years. In fact, I'll get into that in a minute. So as I sit down and think about it, I'm 61. I've already been in hospital twice. I'm fine, doing okay and everything. But I think, you know what? I got to do something here. And going on talking politics is a waste of time because the individuals who are in particular camps, it's like talking to a stone. So it's fine. I mean, I have my reasons, and I'll bring up things now and again, but I also don't want to pollute my writings about spirituality, or my talking, I guess, about spirituality, pollute that with politics, which is a very dirty thing. So I will, the Feet to the Fire radio, which you're watching now, will be some place that I'll come up and talk about current news or what have you. And then what I am proposing, these correcting Christianity, would be my following the teachings of Jesus, explaining what I think they meant in the context, and correcting various versions of Christianity's views of it. I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but you have baptism has several different meanings in different denominations, and the Holy Communion, etc. So there are simple answers for all of those things, and I will present them as I, feel, I guess, moved, or as I feel like it along the way. So that is that. Now, if I can get into what I want to talk about tonight, which I will use as kind of a precursor for the series Christianity and Resonating with Reality. It's kind of why am I doing this? I could easily not do it. I have things to do, and there aren't people tearing down the doors begging me to do it. So I'm just putting it out there because I basically feel I kind of have to. And here's the reason. I want to go through this. If you can, bear with me. One of the reasons why I don't like, when you hear me talk on the show, and I'm giving here, well, it's possibilities. Well, it could be this, could be that, this is that, this is that. You don't hear me come out here and go, this is the fact. This is the truth. That's it. God told me. I'm a scholar. I read 1,000 books. I'm a scientist. Important people told me. I got secret information. I mean, you don't hear me say any of that. Because I take the Bible very seriously, in really Jesus' words, plus James, the book of James. In fact, I recommend people read the book of James, because James is the only disciple, I think, that actually listened, got it through his head with Jesus, right? And so it's really the red letters of the Gospels and James are my focus of my spirituality. Again, James is pretty much saying what he learned, so it's not like it's revealing new information or what have you. But I take it very serious, and this is let me see if this is going to work out. I got to try and do this because I don't have special cards and everything. But let not many of you become teachers, my brethren, knowing as such we will incur a stricter judgment. So if you go off spouting your mouth, talking about all the truth that you know and everything that it is, and this is the way it is and all that, remember that those individuals may act upon your recommendations, your teachings, your absolutes, your arbitrary absolutes most of the time, and that you will be part of the result of what happens. Now, that works good for others who have taken good advice and done good things. You're going to be in that blockchain, spiritual blockchain. I think I just made a new thing of this event. And so that's good. But the flip side is that you will be responsible in this spiritual blockchain of events based on what you were saying. So when I take this very seriously, so when someone comes out, and it's also why I'm attracted to baloney. Why I hear stuff, I go, wait a minute, what is that? There's 100 holes in there I can point, and I want to say something about that because just in case people are listening to this, I want them to have another perspective. Again, it doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody. But I'm responsible for me, and I have this knowledge that I have acquired, and it seems to work out. I have all this stuff, lack of contradiction, and all kinds of works. So it seems to me I have a responsibility to share it, knowing that sharing it bears a responsibility. Darth Vader in the chat room. I can't imagine James as a baby. Actually, if I can find it, I got a picture of me on YouTube. I don't know if I want to get off of this. I gotta be on a strict budget of time because there we go. Here's one picture, and it's me just going like, "Hey, what's going on?" You can see, doesn't it got that question like, "What? What's up?" So. Anyway, back to what I'm talking about here. This is not working right here. Here we go. Oh, there we go. And so take this very serious. Now, another thing that I take very serious, and it's a long thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if most people know the principle of it, and they know the point of it, it's the parable of the 10 talents in Matthew, and I'll put the links and you can read it, but this is the one that kind of haunts me at the end, is when you have a guy who has 10 talents, one has 5 and one has 1, and then the master went away and let him, I use the talents. The talents would be a measure of gold. When he came back, the 10 had 10 more. The 5 made 5 more. But this is the one interesting to me, is that the 1 was afraid and didn't understand. I mean, mischaracterized his master as being hard, using the word who sows where he doesn't reap. I mean, reaps where he doesn't sow, which means he basically steals. Okay? So that's important. And then when the master came back, he said, good, the guy who did 10 got 10 more, good. The guy who did 5 got 5 more, good. And the one who had 1 said, look, I buried it in the ground, so I didn't lose it. I know you sowed, gathered where you didn't sow, and so I did this to save it. And he says to him, you wicked and lazy slave, you knew that I reap where I didn't sow and gathered where I didn't scatter seed. In other words, if you thought that I did that I reaped where I didn't sow and gathered where I didn't scatter seeds, then you should have put your money in the bank, and upon my arrival, I would have received my money back with interest. So if you had that attitude, you thought I was a hard ass, then you should have at least done this. Therefore, I'll take away the talent from him and give it to the ones who have 10 talents. In the last line here, for to everyone who has, more shall be given, and he will be given in abundance. But for the one who does not have, even what he does have shall be taken away. Throw out the worthless slave into utter darkness, in that place where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, this is Jesus talking, and traditionally, Christians have talked about weeping and gnashing of teeth as hell. And even back when I was in the Fundamental Baptist Church, I did a study on Jesus' words. In fact, I'll find that somewhere, and I'll put that up. Again, it goes back. It goes back to when I was in the Baptist church, so there are some things. But the point being is that this has to do with our next life, whether you want to say reincarnation or going into another level. I'm not even going to argue about that. The point is when we die here, we go somewhere here, and it's related to what we do here. And I look at that and go, look, I got a lot of talents. I remember hearing from my teachers when I was in school saying, you know, you're how did they put it? An underachiever. But when I'm in school, I'm going, why am I going to achieve? So I read the books and I said everything like they wanted to. I don't care about any of this stuff. So, I mean, I have this, when I'm into something, you know, when I was starting out with computers and programming, I'd be up for hours, all night. I've been working on studio and recording stuff for days. I've been working on it. So when I'm into something, I really dig into it. But then I'm sitting there thinking I have this knowledge about stuff that I think is relatively solid. I mean, I believe it. I accept it as fact. I'm going to stand before God after death with this information. I mean, I may have be wrong here and there, and will be corrected, but it will be honest. I have a backup. It's not that I'm just following what someone told me or I'm afraid of doing this. But when I see this, I go, am I burying God's talent because I'm afraid of losing it, or probably less dramatic, being distracted by things in the world, you know? And so this is, I just wanted to share this. This is my motivation while doing this stuff. It's not because I'm coming to save the world or that I feel, you know, whatever. But I got to do what I got to do, and then whatever happens, happens. So I'll put the stuff up on these various things. People can, you know, they can talk about it. I don't want to have, I mean, I could have people who want to talk about a topic, and we can come on and do a show, and I would like that. But I did so many shows with Planet X and various things like that where the people are just, you'd have a reasonable presentation of information, and they're just like, no. You know, and I can't deal with that. When I'm dealing with people who are saying, you know, Trump's a racist, and then I look and see about him getting awards over the years for helping minorities and all this, and when I see all the lies and stuff coming on there, and the people going crazy, I don't want to get nothing part of it. I don't, you know, if you want to talk about something, and I'll give you my perspective, fine. If it's going to be a battle of wills, a battle of egos, a battle of fighting, you know, I don't care. You know, I know what I know. I can put it together for myself, and that's what I look at, and when I'll just share it. Now, the problem is a lot of people have a lot of spiritual ideas that they just believe or just know. And I have a problem with that, too. You got to have your head and your heart work together, and your intuition and reality work together to put together a working model that works here in this space-time reality that is solid, and it's just like anything doesn't go, you know. So now that was already longer than I wanted to do. Right there would be like the end of a show. Okay, end of a piece. In 24 minutes, that would be the end. But I have to do another thing, and I'll probably break this up into two, because I can post them under a topic and start the video at later on, you know, down the thing. But my whole thing is about truth. This is what I wanted to. What I'm going to submit here, not submit. Well, submit, like assert, I guess would be a word, is that truth actually has a physics. When God created the whole system and said it was good, there's a system. There's a metaphysical physics system, behind-the-scene physics, that has been designed. And if you find that mechanism and become attuned to it and use it and adhere to it, this is what the teachings are, is to get you, the physical being, to get in touch with the spiritual side and work out the system and get behind the surface. See, one of the problems with science in Aristotelian logic is it has to do with what you can see, feel, and touch. See, feel, and touch. And so that there's a problem with science is it's only dealing with the reality of the physical dimensions and whatnot. But then if you get spiritual, then you can talk about like anything. Well, we can't tell, but this is what I think it is. And they start coming up with wild stuff. That's why that's why science actually took off, because science can fly a plane. Mystics can't. As much as they may say that, yeah, they can levitate and they can go from here to there. I don't see anybody flying around down the street here. So to me, it's very important. The number one thing here is truth. Is because from truth, if you can discern truth, you can learn anything and everything. It's the building block and basis of all physics, metaphysics, everything. I mean, if you figure the truth of gravity and the physics of the truth of gravity, you can fly a plane, and people do. So what I can't take, though, is people who come up with channeling. That there's psychics out there who are getting information about what happened in the galaxy a million years ago and all this stuff. That, to me, that I'm not even saying whether it's true or not. To me, it's completely irrelevant to what we need right now. What we need right now is we're on space-time on the planet Earth. Things happen the way they do in physics and science physics. There's a metaphysics to it, physics as well. And that information behind the scene, if you learn it, this is what Jesus was teaching, probably many great teachers. And the first, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I'm going to quote some, because again, Jesus is the focus here. And like Jesus is where a lot of my spiritual information comes from. Socrates is the processing of the information. So those are the two things. If you continue in my word, then you are truly disciples of mine, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. If you continue my word, now, of course, you get theological people build entire thing, my word, and the word, the logos, and, it's everything in the Bible, and God, they go off it, but I'm keeping it very tight and narrow. I want to say, if you continue in my teachings, my words that I've spoke, if you follow the words I spoke, you follow the principles I spoke, then you are truly disciples, meaning that you really are, you don't just hear it and go away. And there's parables about that, about the seed, where you plant a seed and go on hard ground, you hear the word and you go away and it doesn't grow. So, I mean, there's all kinds of other backup on this. And the truth, you will know the truth, and that's the most important thing you will do. He says, if you continue my word, you will grow trees. If you continue my word, you will be good at math. If you continue my word, you'll be great for, you'll be an astronomer. You continue my word, and you will know the truth. And from that truth, you will know anything as you process and find the truth. And the truth will make you free, because, again, if it's not true and you're following a falsehood, it's a prisoner. It imprisons you, or it will have you off course, so you end up going into a ditch. So this is this is why I'm saying truth is so important. And Jesus was admonishing people. Also, why do you not understand what I'm saying? It is because you cannot hear my word. You don't understand what he's saying. You are of the father of the devil, and you want to do the desires of your father. He's a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in truth, because there is no truth in him. Whenever he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of all lies. So the opposite of truth is lie. The truth sets you free. Lie imprisons you. Truth will give you the right road. Lie will will set you off. Now you see why I am so fervently arguing on Facebook and other things about truth, and about how I got all involved in the whole Q thing, because I found so many problems with it, and people are trusting in it. Do not trust in it. And there's the two extremes here. You have Jesus seeking truth, and his principles are the fine truth. And if you follow his way he does stuff, you will find truth. And if truth will set you free, it'll keep you on course. You won't be deceived. And there are people who don't want the truth. They want the lie. They would rather have the lie because the lie is attractive to them. It's the desires of your father, desires of, Satan is like the opposite of God. The principles God has, Satan is the opposite. So you can learn a lot about God by learning about Satan, or the devil, or whatever anti-entity you want to look at. He speaks a lie. He speaks it from his own nature. So for someone who's in this realm, if you don't seek truth and you follow the lies, excuse me, you'll go down into the point where you will lose the ability to discern truth. Truth has its own physics. That when you hear truth, if you are sensitive to the metaphysics of the world, you will hear the truth and it will, boom, it hits you. It's got like a gravity. It's like a mass. If something hits you, you're here and you got hit by a baseball, you boom, whoa. The truth is a thing. It's a thing in the universe. When something is true, it is sitting there just, I'm true. No effort. It just is. And so when you are into making up fantasies, delusions and fantasies, you are taking a lot of energy to make up this thing which has no form, no substance, no reality. And when it is popped, it just, boom, this appears. This is why I greatly value the teachings of Jesus. I value a lot the teachings of Jesus, the human aspects of him, more than many who value the spiritual. And it's a shame because the man Jesus did a lot of good stuff. He went along with God in his life, and it's to be commended. Because I speak the truth, you don't believe me. And are we seeing them in the political scene? Are we seeing it when we're talking about Q and all this, the Planet X, and all these things coming out that have no basis in reality, or they're using selectively things? Now, the fervor that I have for truth, the belief I have in it, and because I have been brutally beaten by the collision of reality and delusion. When reality comes in, it is like a 1,000,000-ton boulder that's going like this, just coming in, la, la, la. And when it doesn't have to go fast, there is no resistance. Reminds me of Dick Butkus, for those who are old-time football players. A guy would be running. Now, here's a running back aiming this way, running in at Dick Butkus. Dick Butkus comes to him, and he hits him, and there is no loss in Dick Butkus' forward motion. And you could see when he hits him, the rippling in the body in slow motion of the guy as he pushes and hits him. That's kind of how, these are the metaphors I use for when truth comes into against reality. Right. So this is why I think that it's so important to find truth. To me, truth is the most important thing. It is like when you're a child and you want to crawl and walk. I mean, I don't know what the most important thing a child is to learn in the beginning. But to me, when you're trying to find reality, you're trying to know God, you're trying to do anything, you want to do your homework, you whatever, truth. That's just why schools and how they're teaching people adultery is so wrong. While the media is lying, it's so wrong. They are. To me, the worst thing that you can do is lie or misrepresent the truth. That's the worst thing because everything comes from that. Well, what about child murder? There's going to be lies in there somewhere at the beginning. There'll be lies into child murder. There'll be lies into blowing up buildings, into wars. We've seen it at our own hands, lies going into war. It all starts out with lies. That is why at the basis of everything, you got to have truth. Number one, I don't care what the answer is. It could be unpleasant. Truth. If you follow the truth each step of the way, no matter what it leads to, no matter how unpleasant it is microcosmic by comparison. Microcosmic. Is that a word? Compared to the calamity of a full-blown delusion as it collides with reality and is utterly destroyed. This is why I look at, you should find truth. I'm going to go up to this next thing here. To me, Kingdom of Heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field. Now, I'm using these things about Kingdom of Heaven because I'm going to say truth is the whole basis upward of Kingdom of Heaven. In fact, I did a whole study on the Kingdom of Heaven. I'll put that up too, to show that Kingdom of Heaven is not salvation. It's the kingdom of God. The kingdom of heaven, kingdom of God. It's the whole, the universe. The truth of it. The truth and the reality of it. And the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure in a field. Now, just substitute truth in there just for our little talk. Truth is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid again. And from joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has to buy that field. That's how important truth should be. And again, kingdom of heaven, truth, is like a merchant seeking fine pearls, and upon finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. That is how we should look for truth. That's how I lust for truth. I'm not lust, thirst. Better word, thirst. Lust, bad words. Thirst for truth. And when I hear truth, as unpleasant as it may be, there's this gravity of, so if I screwed up, you should have done this. There's this moment of reality, light bulb goes on, as they say. And that's why I'm against, that's why it's, I should have quoted another verse in here. Excuse me. Is when you can't serve God and mammon, that whole verse, we can't serve God and money. This is why I don't like the idea of people who are, whether they be priests, pastors, talk show hosts, media seeking truth, and then mixing it with money, because you got to pay the bills, so maybe we can help truth along a little bit, get a little more people to listen, and then we'll sneak out more of the real truth. I can't deal with that, because once you go down that slippery slope, now you're in trouble. And then if you get caught lying, enhancing, if I can use the word, enhancing the truth, you get caught, now what value have you as far as truth? They're always going to go back to that one point and blow it out of proportion to nail you. So this is one of the reasons why I marketed my show in the beginning years ago, and I really tried, and it didn't work, and I think it may have been a blessing, because then when people who have to get involved in it are going to have to make that choice, and I want to make that choice in the cool of the day, so when the hot of the evening comes, you already got the guidelines, or the cool of the evening and the hot of the day, however you want to phrase it. Now, here's a description of wisdom. And I define wisdom as the result of finding and applying truth. If you find and apply truth, you become wise. And I'll get to that in a minute. All right. James, I told you, another great book. Who among you are wise and understanding? Let him show by his good behavior and his deeds in gentleness and wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition, talk show hosts, in your heart, do not be arrogant and so lie against the truth. Being arrogant, being a know-it-all, is lying against the truth, because my man Socrates said it well. Let me just I'll read it over here. It'll be easier for me to read. This is without a doubt the most reprehensible folly, the folly of thinking that we know what we do not know. The unexamined life is not worth living. And of course, Jesus did talk about this. They are blind guides of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, they will lead them into a pit. So, if you have against the truth, this wisdom is not which comes from above, and let me say from within, in the context of our connection with God, but is earthy, natural, demonic. For where jealousy and selfishness, ambition exist, there is disorder in every evil thing. This has been what holds me back. I'm not even saying I could have made it in terms of, I don't know if I got what it takes. I mean, that's not my point. I'm not looking at here like, oh, I would be number one, but no. But I'm saying this is the way, this is that kind of that drag on me, you know? And even from doing stuff like this, talking about God and talking about God and Jesus and teaching in the universe, holy cow, it's heavy stuff. You know, talk about, you know, risking, you know, condemnation and lying and everything like that. It's like it's heavy stuff. And, you know, I come out in fear and trembling, if to use the old King James version, fear and trembling, like, well, I got some stuff here, and here's what I think it is, and here's why, and here's this, and here, what do you think? You know, that's kind of how I come across with it. And so people might be looking for some confidence and arrogance in it. And one thing I'm confident in is that I don't know jack without the guidance of the principles that Jesus taught and God working from within to guide me through the understanding of the universe, to find truth where it is and feel it, sense it, feel its weight, its gravity, its truth, and it's precious. And I want truth more than anything else. And perhaps I did sell everything I had or could have had for truth. But I know that when I pass on, that in all humility and love, I'll meet my Maker. And I would have, been cautious and yet still did things. This is why I'm doing this. James also talks about what is wisdom. Now, I'm going to get this, but wisdom is from above is first pure. Then it's peaceable, it's gentle, it's reasonable, it's full of mercy, it's good fruit, unwavering, without hypocrisy. And the seed whose fruit is righteousness is sown by peace by those who make peace. Now let me go back to that word, or just to prove my point about wisdom. But the wisdom from above is first pure. I looked up the wisdom, the Greek word wisdom, and what is it? Sophia. Of course, I knew that Greek for wisdom, but I didn't know it was going to be. A sophos would be the root Greek word for it. But in looking up the word sophos, wise, learned, cultivated, skilled, clever. Now, wouldn't that be a description of someone who took truth, absorbed it, incorporated it into their mechanism, so that when you talk to this person who's based on his learning on experience and his cultivation, the skill and cleverness is built on truth, what happens is when you come to someone who is wise and ask information, they have a solid ground that they can work from. They're grounded in reality, which is where we're living. And people say, well, we could just jump off a building if we want to, but we got to have faith and all that. That's malarkey. Those who could do it, don't do it. Jesus was as, hey, if you're a son of God, you could throw yourself down and the angels would catch you. And, Jesus, who could have done that, said, hey, don't tempt the Lord your God. Don't tempt the human side of Jesus, who is now suffering out in the wilderness with not eating and all that. Don't tempt that human with these principles. So Jesus was living with his connection with God right there to be able to override his earthly desires. It's fabulous stuff. I mean, that's why I just loved, out of memory, what was this? Wise. No, then I got the American definition of wise. Yeah, it goes from the old Greek. The English word wise is from two words, form and to see. So to see the form, underlying form, to see the underlying form of the universe is somebody who is wise, who has learned truth, which is the underlying form of the universe. When you find truth, you have the building blocks of the most real reality there ever is. Now, truth could be hard, complicated. We can't understand it. Like someone who doesn't understand physics can't understand the physics of flying an airplane. But you can explain the principles. You can explain in an analog. You can understand, so people can understand, oh, yeah, I know how a plane flies. the wing has lift. As it goes through the air, it comes under the wing and lifts it up. I mean, you don't have to have the physics to know it. So this is why people who are all arrogant and, you sit there and you look at them when they're doing their show and they got 1,000 books behind them and they're well read and they have all this stuff and they quote things and they talk in, real high language, and then they have to explain it down to you so that you'd understand. All those people, you just turn them off, because there's going to be people around who is going to be able to talk to you regular, who appreciate everyone is everyone. I mean, everybody is everything together, and anybody who knows stuff just knows a little more than you in this area. It's like the person who's a Boy Scout going out with somebody who's a real good programmer, and they're stuck out in the wild. How are they going to survive? Boy Scout would know. So let me go back to my thing here. So you can see why wisdom is someone who has found truth and learned the form of it. You could see the form of truth, embraced it, incorporated it. He also now can see untruths, because you have the basis of the forming, and when some doesn't fit, and there's a contradiction, and these things have been very well formed, very well proven, and you put a thing that doesn't fit in there, you could say, wait a minute, that's not true. I think I got to, I got through it. There you go. This is the point I wanted to get through, is that to me, oops, wrong button. To me, wisdom, truth is the most important commodity in the universe. Truth will teach you how to grow food. Truth will teach you how to stay healthy. When they're giving us these medicines that the AMA is supporting, which is causing us harm, there's an untruth causing harm. So just imagine what the AMA and those people are awaiting as far as their judgment and their condemnation for being teachers and teaching us lies to make money. What do you think of politicians? What do you think of all those? To me, the worst of all are the press. Their whole job is to find truth. That's their job. We're saying, look, we're going to go out and we're working out, driving a truck and working out doing this. Your job is to find the truth. Get back to me on that. And then they come up with programming. They come up with political lies. They come up with half-truths or lies. Woe. Woe unto that person whose job is truth and gives lies, because they are going to be in big trouble. It's got nothing to do with salvation. It's got everything to do with your life combining into the next one, And so that is why I want truth. That's why when you see, for people who may be watching me on Facebook, some of these guys get pissed off at me. Hey, just because you don't like what I say here, you don't have to comment. I go, it's in my feed. If you're friending me on Facebook and you're putting up stuff that I got a problem with, if I have time, and a lot of it I miss because I don't have time, if I see it, I'm looking at fate. If I see it, fate is telling me that you should comment on it, yay or nay, and why? Because to me, it's like, when you took tests in school and you didn't, especially math, and you put down the answer and you didn't put down why, you don't get credit for that, because it's the whole point of teaching you is to find out how you got to that point. When someone tells me this is a certain piece of truth, I'm going to know how'd you get there, why, what's your evidence, what did you think about, what's your logic, what's your reasoning, what's your experience behind it, because that information will help me to discern if what you're saying is true. And that's why there's fallacies in the argument, because if someone says, well, I'm a doctor, I know these things. Not a good enough reason. Not a good enough reason. Well, I've been doing this for years. You should take my word for it. No. You've known me for years. I wouldn't lie to you. I'm not saying you're lying. You just could be mistaken. I'm not going to believe somebody because I've been a friend from him for 20 years. I mean, in a pinch, if I know a guy who's good out in camping and we're stuck out in the woods for some reason, a car broke down and we got to camp, I'm going to defer to his judgment in a pinch because of the years of this person doing this kind of thing. But it's also going to make sense to me. Not that I'm the arbiter of all things, but it's my life. And by me saying these things to you today, I got to really back these things up with something solid for me to even say them to you. It doesn't mean you believe me. I showed you the philosophical background for the metaphysical philosophical background, why I think truth's important, and you might disagree, and that's fine. I don't even need to know. I'm not, oh yeah, well, I'll argue, I'll tell you. No, but then my wisdom is not from above. It's not peaceful. It's not any of those things that we're saying in James. Which, by the way, I recommend to read James. Great book. Real short. I think it's like three chapters. It's I have an audio book. I listen to it on occasion, and I don't know. It's got to be under 10 minutes. And when people say, well, I read this channeled work and it says this, and what that stuff means nothing to me on the surface. Someone could say, well, trust me, I got sources. When this whole thing with this Q and other things where they say, well, there's people who do know. Let me know that. Of course, it's great for a talk show host or I got people up in high places and they told me this, and because I'm cool and I have those connections, and no, that doesn't. Some people are attracted to people with ego because they have a low opinion of themselves, so they feel if I can attach myself to this guy, then I'll be okay. And I'll just use him as my big brother, so to speak, or sister. And other people are repelled from it because they're like, oh, I'll show him. I'm the one that's bigger than him, and they go on all this stuff. And I keep saying him because most of the time it's guys anyway. So I don't know if that's a sexist. I guess it's okay when you're criticizing a guy. But this is why I think it's so unbelievably important to find truth among everything else. Truth. And that possibly explains by some of my zealotness, I guess, and how I come across stuff, especially in the QAnon. I talked about this for months. Boy, it sounds like years. Today it is here. For months. Right off the bat, I was just the way he was talking and all that. And then now there's been people who have talked about the coding and who posted and they found this and that and the other thing. But that's how I found, for me, I call it a BS meter. See, I guess I learned to look at it from the negative. Instead of finding truth, I'm sniffing out BS. But the result is you find out what's not truth, which is a way to find out you're on the road to finding truth. So when I talk about being the lack of contradiction, it's kind of a double negative in that you're finding out there's no contradictions. So you're finding out it's not negative. Now it's usable. But that's like testing for poison. When you test a food for poison, you're not testing it to see if it's a good culinary tasting dish. You're checking out to see if there's any poison in there. Now, the next step, once we determine there's no poison in there, the next step, now, does it taste good? Does it last long? I mean, is it organic? I mean, well, I'm organic, I guess, is under the poison part, but you know what I'm saying. So this is the kind of thing that I want to be doing, and I wanted to start out with truth. Because if you're seeking truth, I mean, of course, it's a cool thing to say. Well, of course, I'm a truth seeker. You want to have the badge of truth seekingness on you. You can walk around going, yes, I'm a truth seeker. Another thing that bothers me is the whole thing, you're not awoke yet. You got to wake up. Wake up! Like me. Wake up like me. I've seen the truth and wake up like me. No. You're all asleep. The most woke person is still sleeping. They're on stages of wakingness. And a lot of those people who are woke are deeper in delusion. So another thing I hate is people, telling people, you got to wake up, people. Wake up, people. No, what they're saying is, no, you got to believe like me, because if you do, then I'll feel better about what my believing is and I get myself elevated. I'm sorry, that's what it is. I don't care if someone's woke or not. In a generic sense. If I'm in a position that I think I can help the person by saying something, I'll say something. If they don't, In fact, I'm not going to try and look for it now, but I've listened to the Bible a zillion times on audio. And more, I focus on the New Testament too, but I listen to all of it, but New Testament in particular. And what comes to mind is when Jesus sent out the disciples. He says, go I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not good at memorizing. Go into the town. If no one believes you, leave there, kick the dust off your sandals and move on. Don't make it your life's work. Don't get worked up by it. As long as you are true and accurate, you know where you're coming from, you've tested it out, you have this background on it, you've learned to cultivate literally the feeling of truth, which again could be a negative feeling in terms of, hey, I failed the test, but it's true, I failed it. There's a feeling the truth that one should cultivate. You should be able to sniff it out. There's terms, sniffing out the clues, sniffing out truth. I'm tasting truth. I'm listening for truth. I can feel it. These are all ways of doing this intangible thing that's there. If people who have mentioned in the chat room about the little Greek word I have on my insignia, which is, let me see if I can get the opening thing here. You can see it under the F2F. That's the Greek word arete, which is basically excellence or quality. And if you read the book Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, Zen Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and if you write it when you're in high school, it doesn't count. You got to read it again. If you follow that, the motorcycle story behind it, it's just, it's a story to keep it going, but there's philosophy in there. It's great stuff. And when you get outside of the realm into the God's realm, quality is something you can sense, but you can't define it. Truth is something you can sense, but you can't define it in terms of you can back it up. Like, for example, quality work you've done in furniture, you can back it up by saying, look, it doesn't break. It's it's well tended. There's nice grain, wood grain. You can describe the quality, but the sense of quality is something that you get. And so that I put truth in that category. I'll probably do a thing on quality, but if you just read the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, I won't have to say a word. Read it, listen to it, and think about the philosophy. And if you don't care about the whole motorcycle journey part, just, I think you can in the books, I think you might be able to, go to the next chapter. I don't know. But very important stuff. So I got to wrap it up because I got to go to work tomorrow early. And I got to bring my truck in and get fixed. Whenever I bring it in to get fixed, loss of income, and I have to pay. So it's a double whammy. My tires are deteriorating. I just bought them, so there's another wasted set of tires. So I got to figure out what's wrong with the front end. And of course, they're only open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Okay, so anyway. All right, thanks for coming by. And if you were interested in these little segments, I'm going to separate this into two things. I'm going to put it in the beginning, but as I get this more together, if you find something that resonates with you, share it. I'm not interested in getting a big following. In fact, the bigger the following, the more problems you get with the powers that be. But I just want to get the information out there that if it can help, 5 people and that's it, that's fine. But if you find something that you like, just take a moment to share it. You hit the like button and all that stuff because, but I'm not interested in it because I'm not monetizing it. I'm not trying to make money on it. I just want, I got to do this, There's an old saying up in the Bible, buy truth and sell it not. I think the real way to put that is buy truth and keep it, because you're supposed to use it and so on. So that's why I want to make the truth. I have a link in the beginning to Johnny Cash's song called What is Truth? I would have played that as a bumper. However, I would get beat silly by the YouTube police for daring to put something that's already on YouTube again. So, but I did put the link in there. I think it's a pretty good song. It isn't really one of his more popular ones, probably because it was pretty good in principle when it came out in the 70s. So there you go. No Less Visible tonight. In fact, I'm going to be talking to Les, saying I'm not going to be doing live stuff. And so we'll have to work out something for the Less Visible if he likes to do that. Of course, you have Less Visibles available through his blogs, which is where his original years of information has been found. So with that, I think we will go.